Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this week's Live at 9:45, hosted by me, Adam Van Ord of Van Ord Customs. If you have not been here before and you do not know what Live at 9:45 is, Live at 9:45 is a live question-answer series where I interview some of the most influential or interesting or just downright cool people in the hobby that are doing cool things. I have with me tonight Condon, in case you didn't notice from the thumbnail, and he is going to be talking about some of his builds, the stuff that's going on, and additionally his ownership of SuperShafty and all of the things related to what takes place in SuperShafty. Couple of housekeeping items before we fire this up and get it running. First off, if you haven't done so already, make sure that you hit that subscribe button and the like button. And turn on that bell for notifications. YouTube doesn't like to notify people unless you've hit that bell, and it's kind of hard to get you guys all up in here. I'm sharing it all over Facebook, trying to recoup some of my viewers from the past, but guys, hit that subscribe button because every subscriber counts. I appreciate each and every one of you. I follow through. I answer questions. I do all of that stuff. I'm watching all of the comments roll on the screen right now. Additionally, after the show is over, I want to do something that's a little different than I've ever done before. I happen to have literally like an entire, it's not this one, but like this is other scale plates. I have an entire one of those of Van Ord Custom plates. So I'd like to give away a Van Ord Customs plate. Looks like this actually. Don't mind the bad cut job. I wouldn't give this one away. Autofocus didn't work, but to the first comment after the show is over. So that means that when the show ends, all the live comments go away except for inside of the feed where you could possibly read them. And I want to see some comments after it's over. So if you are the first one to comment, I'll get a hold of you and I'll shoot you a Live at 9:45 custom plate. So without further ado, I'm going to bring AJ on, bring him over, and make sure that our audio levels and everything are good to go and get things fired up. And again, I appreciate all the comments. I see you all rolling in there. Give me just a second, guys. All right, AJ, you are on, and part of what's going on, give me just a second to turn your audio on. There we go. Should have you, and people should be able to hear you, so welcome.
How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. So before we fire this up, I just have to tell everybody the story of earlier this evening. And so earlier this evening, I got a phone call through Skype from AJ, and thankfully, AJ called me because I had put my son to sleep and totally was asleep myself, and AJ saved our show tonight. So everybody owes AJ a huge thank you. Hit him up in the comments, because if it wasn't for him, chances are we'd have been a little late. So... all right, man. Let's fire this thing up the right way and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, AJ Condon. A lot of you guys know me recently as the owner of SuperShafty. Before that, I was the owner of Bottoms Up RC. And I did that for like 10 years before taking over SuperShafty. Yeah, I've been in the RC hobby since I don't know, the late 90s. I started out with a Traxxas Basher and moved into the scale rock crawling when that came available, and so I do SuperShafty part-time. It's me and two other guys help me right now, but it's part-time for all of us. But the more and more we go through here, we are getting busier and busier, so it might start to turn into full-time stuff soon. But yeah, I enjoy doing this hobby, and I like I'm enjoying the SuperShafty side of it, and it's a lot of fun lately. And no, I've been doing it for so long. You lose track of things sometimes, and um, we like seeing all the new stuff coming out lately, and just rolling with it.
Right, right. So at at what point did you get into this hobby? So like how long has it been? And out of curiosity, who got you the hobby? And additionally, I'd like to pose that to the people either A in the live comments right now, and B people who are watching this later and picking it up after the live feed has ended. Like, how long have you been doing the RC thing, and what was the kind of that experience that brought you in?
So my first experience with the hobby was real early on. I was a young kid, and my dad had um, a, a grasshopper,
Okay.
and and liked running those around in the field in the driveway and stuff. And I didn't really do much with it real early on, but after I got out of college, I got a Traxxas T-Max, and um, you know, um, I I ran the wheels off of that thing literally multiple
I
times.
think that's
But
a common thread. If you have a T-Max, you run the wheels off of them.
I ended up ending that one in a disastrous nitro fire, and I've not owned another nitro truck since. Um, but I started doing full size rock crawling um, in about the same time, about the late '90s, early 2000s, and I enjoyed doing that. And then I started doing it competitively. So I was going to Roush Creek off road, and Big Dogs, um, and Paragon Adventure Park and stuff like that, and wheeling my Blazer, and then a Jeep, and then a Jeep buggy. And I then got into the We Rock series, which is World Extreme Rock Crawling Championship, whatever. So national level, full size comp
Wow,
stuff.
man, I didn't know
Yes,
that. That's crazy.
I competed with guys like Shannon Campbell, um and like I don't know. There was quite few big names that we competed with. That you're still seeing those guys doing King of the Hammer stuff. Um, but when I was doing that, I was like, I got introduced to the RC rock crawling. Guys bringing some of these little trucks to the competitions and stuff, and it's like, man, that's cool. I can do that at home too.
Yeah.
Um, so I bought a TLT rock crawler off of a friend of mine, and ran that a few times, and it was terrible. It was really terrible. Huge bulky axles, um, and then Axial hit the scene with the AX10, and I got one of those right away, and love that,
Hmm.
and did competitive RC crawling with the AX10 for a couple years, until everybody started going to MOAs and the motor on axle crawlers. And so I got one of those, and it was a Berg, and ran the Berg for a little while, and then got an XR10 when those came out. And um, when I was competing with the Berg, it always seemed like I wanted to have some part that somebody else, nobody else was making.
Right.
So I started playing around with rudimentary AutoCAD, and I had a buddy that had a machine shop, and we started making this little part and that little part for my crawler, and this like somebody would come up to me at a like, what is that? Show me that part, and then, hey, can you make one of those for me? Okay, yeah, no problem, I'll do that. And then I made a set of wheels, and um, and a couple of my friends were like, man, you should make a production run of those.
Yeah.
So we did, and I sold quite a few bottoms up RC production wheels. The catch for those were they were super heavy. People were putting lead stick-on wheel weights on on their plastic wheels, or even their aluminum wheels, or you go and look at like Mayhem or something like that. They were putting ball bearings in them, and stuff like that. And so I was like, well, why don't we just make it out of something heavier? And well, we made wheels out of stainless steel, and the wheels were extremely heavy, like 11 ounces or more each wheel, and they were so heavy that they were devastating on parts. So people started snapping axles and breaking other things, and so we sold a bunch of them right away, and then it was like, can we get those in aluminum? And so then we started selling them as a 4-pack of stainless and 2 aluminum. So they were the bottoms up, 6-pack.
Yeah.
And so there was, it would come with 4 stainless wheels and 2 aluminum wheels in case you wanted to run, stainless up front, aluminum in the back. I dug one out.
Yeah.
So they're pretty simple, but they were nice, and like I said, extremely heavy. This thing weighs over 11 ounces, and like for comparison, the 2.2 wheel that we have now is 1.5 ounces.
Yeah, which is, I mean, it's crazy, the changes and the advancements and all of that stuff that has taken place in our hobby over the time, and the time span that you've been in it, and I've been in it, and all these people, like, it's nuts, man, and it grows so fast right now, like incredibly fast. If you weren't in RC, what would your hobby of choice be?
If I wasn't doing this, full time like I am now,
Right.
yeah, I'd probably spend more time either hunting, or going out and doing trail rides, like just with a Jeep Wrangler or something. Yeah, I'd like to get back into that at some point in time, but I just don't have the time or money to do that right now.
I mean, fair enough. So let's talk a little bit about the whole brushed or brushless question. I feel like with the bombproof name, there's a legitimate answer there, but I'm curious, so let's see where it goes.
I run brushless in almost everything.
Okay.
There's only a few trucks that I have that have brushed motors, but all my competition trucks have brushless motors in them, and I'm a fan of big power. So put the biggest thing you can jam in there, and as much power to the wheels as possible.
Fair enough. What do you think is your favorite part of the RC hobby in general?
The camaraderie. Just going to a competition and hanging out with friends, and if for whatever reason you break something, and you don't have that part in your toolbox, and you go, hey, does anybody have X? Yeah, you're going to get three people that say, here, take this one.
Yeah.
And, I just, I would, if I have the part and I don't need it for my trucks, I'm going to offer it up to somebody else if they need it to fix their truck at a comp. Just, and, if I would rather, them get their truck fixed and come back and beat me versus me beating them because they were broken.
Right, and I adhere to that same thing. In fact, one of the things that blew me away the most is the first time we ever went to any kind of competition. It was York State, and I apparently like didn't understand rules real well because I had a honcho on tutus, and it we went to a comp crawler competition, and so I was like, it fits the Shafty rules. Like I'm gonna go and I'm gonna rock this thing. It was tough. It wasn't really designed for what I was doing, but the support and the help, and like no one was rude, no one was disrespectful, and like I totally didn't belong there. And they let me run and they helped me through, and like anything that was broken or any of that stuff, like man, that's what really sold me on it. So I was glad to hear you bring up like the broken parts and the helping out, because
Just take the body and the bumpers off, and you might have.
yeah, it was rough. I'm not gonna lie. I did drive all of the courses before it was all said and done, but I pointed out on like gate 2 on every course. So, but I hung in there. I fought for it. So, all right, let's shift the conversation just a little bit and talk some about SuperShafty in general. Some people may already know this, probably at least from the thumbnail, if not from like the introduction. You are a big part of what's going on with SuperShafty. Can you tell us a little bit about the history of SuperShafty in general and kind of how you came to being the person in charge running it, or the face of it?
Sure. So, SuperShafty itself started, back like 10 years ago. Um, a guy named Rick was the owner of SuperShafty, and he started out by making, top shafts for the transmissions because, there was a need for that part. And then he started making output shafts for them, and then it turned into, bomb-proof transmissions because there was a need for that, and there was, people were breaking those parts, and they needed a solution that just wasn't a cheesy aftermarket solution. Um, fast forward a few years, and my friend Mike Durstein bought the company from Rick. Um, Mike did well with the company, and then he started shifting gears himself, and his sales started to decline a little bit for him, and he wasn't pushing it quite as hard. And then he got a job offer with to move to RC 4-wheel drive. So, and part of him going to RC 4-wheel drive was that he either had to close SuperShafty or sell it. And he opted to sell it. And he asked a group of guys that I'm part of, and I talked with my now business partner, then friend, Brian, and he was interested in helping with it, but just didn't really want to be involved in the day-to-day operations, and didn't want to be the public, a person that people come and talk to. He helps behind the scenes stuff. He helps us with our builds, and he helps us with the building of the transmissions and stuff. But the two of us went together, and we bought SuperShafty at the end of the summer, 2017, and we spent the end of 2017 just working on getting the essential parts back in stock. Because when we took over the company, there was almost no inventory, and there was a lot of things that we needed to get back in stock. So that took some time and effort. Getting the machinists going, running off those parts for us again, and we spent a lot of time and money getting the inventory level back to where it's supposed to be. And you know we've just we've been focusing on getting the main core stuff so that it's always in stock. And that's it sounds easier than it actually is.
I don't doubt it, man.
Because to get the price point on the items that we need, we've got to buy a couple hundred of them, and a couple hundred times $15, the part being sold for $20 doesn't seem like that big of a deal. Oh, you just buy them. But no, we got to buy a few hundred of them to get to the part to the price point where it makes sense for us to sell them. So coming up with the funds to buy a few hundred of those items is harder than it seems. And then when you've got some parts like the transmissions and stuff we build, that they take 15 different parts. You got 15 different parts that cost $5 to $15 each, and then you got to buy a couple hundred of each of those at a time. It's harder than it sounds. I'll just get bombproofs back in stock. Yeah, it's not that easy. But we've been working at it, and I think we're almost to the point where most of the core products that SuperShafty name was made on are going to be an item that just doesn't go out of stock, or if when it does, it goes out for a short period of time.
Right.
But we've we want to be the go-to guys when you need a part, you want to buy it once, and you don't have to worry about it breaking again. And if it does, you send me a message and say, "Hey, look, I broke this," and I say, "Okay, I'll get you another one sent out."
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. So, I have a question from a viewer. Lawrence Shields wants to know if he was to start a company like SuperShafty, would it be better to go into like a business management degree or like some type of engineering degree?
I have a business degree. I definitely think that that makes a big difference for me.
Yeah.
But I have just enough knowledge with engineering side of things to be dangerous. So like I can do AutoCAD, and but I'm not super technical with it. So that it would be cool to have more knowledge and be able to go, okay, well, I want to buy a mill and start running off all my own parts. But at this point in time, I would say that the business part of it is more important to me, because if you don't know how to run the business, it doesn't matter how good your parts are.
Right. That makes perfect sense to me. So, speaking of business stuff, what is your most favorite and your least favorite piece of running the whole SuperShafty business part?
My favorite part of SuperShafty is talking to all of the customers and seeing them using our parts and having to not have to worry about breaking our parts, because they know that it's not going to break. and they can go out and have fun, and while using our parts without having to worry about it.
Yeah.
As far as the least favorite thing, um, countless hours of packing drive shafts. There's the the heat sealer and all the little parts, and then all the hardware packs and stuff. That doesn't come all put together. We spend the time doing that.
Right.
So for every pack of drive shafts and stuff that goes out, there's a couple minutes worth of time putting the right parts in the bag, and packing it, and make sure everything is right in the bag. And then I guess also packing and shipping is a necessary evil as well.
Yeah, and it sucks. It's a big time suck, man, if you've got other stuff going on in life, or any of that. Like it's always there, and it never stops.
It's a good problem to have, to be busy, to have to pack all the parts and have to ship all the parts, but at the same time, the not being able to spend time developing new things, or working on my own trucks, or going out and enjoying my own trucks. That's it. I would like to be able to do that stuff more. And as things continue, I think that being able to be able to trust somebody else to come in and make sure all the right parts get in the right bags is going to be a big step for us, moving from the workshop here in my basement to somewhere else. If we make a step, and the next step will probably be to get some kind of a commercial space, and comes with that an employee. So I mean, I got two other people to help me right now. One's a friend of the family, and there's my business partner, and we have nights down here at HQ where we just spend hours and hours packing stuff, and that's necessary, but it's a waste. It's a suck of time.
Yes. No, I hear you completely. I can't even imagine. Just a little bit of stuff that I do with the license plates, man. It adds up really, really fast, and I intentionally designed it so it wouldn't take every moment I have, and it still takes a lot. So, all right, I want to move on to your next question, but before I get there, I've seen it come up a couple times in the comments here, where people are asking about any plans for some kind of SuperShafty additions to the Redcat Gen8. It's kind of the hot button topic of the moment right now in the RC community, so curious to see what you have to say about that.
I have never held one. So I'm working on getting one in hand at this point in time. So I'm going to reserve my answer until after I put my hands on it.
Hey, that's fair. I like that answer. It's very diplomatic of you. For anybody who doesn't know,
I'm not going to say yes. It's a possibility. Definitely, if the market supports it, then absolutely. If I put my hands on it and go, yeah, I think we can make something for that, then yeah, we'll do it.
All right, awesome, man. So quick shout out, shameless plug for myself. I just released a video this morning about taking the Redcat Gen8, driving it out of the box at a local comp, and having a blast with it. I for one, I know you haven't seen it yet. I know you haven't had it in your hands. Huh?
Was that the comp where Ryan drove it with the bag still?
Yeah, Ryan drove his with the bag still on it, and I drove mine out of the box. It was a little bit of it was that comp. But anyway, the whole purpose of that video was like, can you take it out of the box and just drive it? Like, I didn't drive it beforehand or anything like that, so it was fun. Like, it was super fun. It was a fun video to make. If you guys want to check that out, it's also on this YouTube page. It's called Straight Out of the Box. You can check that out. Maybe I'll link it below in the video description. There we go. I got to remember to do more of that on YouTube. And if you haven't already, click that like button and that ring that bell so that you get notifications when we go live and we release videos. But here's the part that everybody loves of Live at 9:45, where I ask you, what is SuperShafty most known for? And I say, hey, why don't you show us some of those items while you talk about them? So,
well, there's two things that I thought about when I thought about SuperShafty before I was the owner,
right.
And those two things were the bomb-proof transmissions and the MIP drive shafts.
Fair enough.
So I think those are the two most well-known products that we carry. I've got 20,000 pieces of MIP in stock right now. Not counting all the little teeny tiny hardware bits.
Gosh, that's a lot. That's a big number. My head doesn't wrap around that. So keep going.
So we've got I think the last count I've got 60 or 65 different kits available, of MIP. Anything from these new HD drive lines, which are the scale version of the traditional MIP. They're best used on the smaller trucks, the Class 1 trucks, the Class 2 trucks, maybe.
Yeah.
If you're not running huge brushless power, that's when these drive shafts you might need to think about stepping up to the XDs, which the XDs are the known MIP drive shafts. The ones with the big bell end on them.
Yeah.
The bomber kit is a SuperShafty exclusive thing. You can only buy a bomber kit from SuperShafty, and we just updated this recently too. It's got a different front drive shaft from the kit before for better driveline angle. But the HD drive lines came out early 2018. So we've got 20 or so kits for those, and then we do everything by measurement too. So if you have a truck that you built from scratch and don't know what kit is going to fit it, measure it, and use a piece of string or whatever and put it through your drive shaft hole to the transmission output hole, and then lay it on the bench and measure it, and you can order the shaft that you need to fit exactly the space that you have. But then so the signature thing is the bomb-proof transmissions. So we do 5mm and 6mm and 8mm bomb-proof transmissions.
Mm-hmm.
And this one I've got in my hand is a 6mm that has double extended outputs on it. So you can get them. We have not counting colors, we have 20 some different combinations of output shafts and spur gears and stuff like that. And then you add colors into it, and that number, goes through the roof.
Oh yeah, I bet. I can't even imagine. So awesome.
So the two core things are the bomb-proof transmissions and the MIP line. Since we took over, I think there's a few more items that we've come to been known by. Like our 1.9 Falcon wheels have been a huge seller for us lately. We just reintroduced those.
Yeah.
So there's a pretty scale looking 1.9 wheel. It won't focus on it. But there's a lot of cool features about this. It's got a pretty big offset, a positive offset. So it helps steering angles, and it has a scale looking ring on it. It's got a groove cut in the wheel surface to hold the foam from sliding back and forth.
Yep.
So those have been a good seller for us the past couple months. We've got a new 2.2 wheel coming out. We got the 2.2 Hawks right now. We got a few of those left, but they're discontinued. So got a new 2.2 wheel coming out. I don't know exactly when that's going to be. We're waiting for machine time for getting those run. And then I know you want to talk about it, but
yeah, I'm gonna get there. So leave that one hang for a minute. I know where you're headed. It's pretty much my favorite thing right now, and I drool over it every time. So it's every combo you put out, I'm like, I don't have the money at the moment. So anyway, we're alluding to some things. We'll come back to that in just a second. So SuperShafty sells a lot of different wheels, combo things like that. My curious question is, so I run a 2.2 on my 1.9 tire in class 2. I'm curious, I actually run a 2.2 class 1. I'm curious what is more popular? Do you sell more 1.9 wheels and tire, or 1.9 wheels, or more 2.2?
It goes in waves.
Okay.
I can't seem to find a rhyme or reason to it. But it never fails when I'm out of 2.2 wheels, then everybody wants 2.2 wheels.
Of course.
Nobody's buying the 1.9s. Then when I get 2.2 wheels back in stock and I don't have 1.9s, everybody wants it's the other way around. So it goes in waves. As far as product mix goes, I think they're pretty even. I think that lately, the past couple months since we reintroduced the 1.9 Falcons, we've been selling more of those than the 2.2s.
Okay.
But I feel like when people get a glimpse at our new 2.2 wheel, it's going to flip-flop it. And we're going to sell a ton of 2.2 wheels, and the 1.9s aren't going to move.
Yeah, so for anybody who's interested, I got a glimpse at the wheel last night. It was one of these, camera. So I know it's coming. It's round. I promise you.
It's round.
It didn't go square. I don't know why, but it's round. So
hey, I saw those square wheels.
I mean, you could make some aluminum square beadlocks. I'd buy them.
All right, you'd buy them. I think you'd be one of 3 people that would buy them.
You might get a couple more. All right, guys, in the comments, who'd buy square wheels? Come on, support me out. Support me here. Anyway, so over the last year, AJ, I've noticed for sure that your anodizing that you're putting out, and then there's a couple other coatings as well, which I'll let you kind of get into. But the colors, the combos, the designs are so unique, different, and just they pop. They're vibrant. Everything about them rocks, and I want to talk about it. I don't even know what questions to ask because I don't know what ones are the right ones. So, I mean, you've done axles, you've done wheels, transmissions, pretty much anything that's aluminum, and it's just a cool, unique portion to the aftermarket segment of our hobby. And I want to know where the idea came from first, and then I want to talk about some coatings and all of that stuff. But let's focus on, how did it go from, yeah, we're just going to sell you some aluminum wheels to, we're going to sell you aluminum,
It was before me.
Okay.
So you go back quite a few years, and SuperShafty released a Harley edition transmission.
Okay. The orange one. I remember.
And silver and black, and it was splash anodizing. So I was a customer of SuperShafty at that point in time,
Yeah.
and I wanted one, but I couldn't justify it, and so I didn't get it, and I regretted it ever since. I should have dug deep and bought it. Um, but so if anybody watching has one of those Harley transmissions, I'm willing to buy it from you.
I'm pretty sure that Josh Theed probably has one.
I'm sure
Maybe
he
you could
does.
get him to give you one or sell you one or
So,
something.
we tried to reproduce that that Harley transmission look, and the ones that we redid and put out around around Halloween just didn't quite hit the mark for me. I still like the original one better than the one that we redid, but they're both still pretty cool. But yeah, it goes back, way back. And the other two owners of SuperShafty, dabbled it in a little bit, and they did, red, white, and blue transmissions and stuff like that. And did real limited releases of those. And yeah, they were okay, and they sold, but they didn't. I don't know whether they didn't push them the right way, or display them the right way, or market it the right way. It wasn't a real big hit, but I loved it. Even as a customer, before me, I loved it.
I would say
So I
honestly,
had
as a
when I had the chance to do that for myself, and and sell them, I started anodizing wheels when I still owned Bottoms Up RC.
right.
Um, but I didn't have the right connections to get the wheels and such done in the patterns and all that I liked. And the previous owner of SuperShafty wasn't willing to share that information with me, and I don't blame him for that. I'm not sharing it with anybody either. But
Fair enough.
once I was able to do that for myself as owner of the SuperShafty. I was all about it. So we started banging out different color combinations, and I I kind of hit a wall for a little bit, and I'm like, all right, there's got to be something that we're missing here. There's got to be more combinations. There's got to be something else that we can do.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine messaged me and says, "Hey, I want parts that look rusty." And I was like, I don't know if I can get anodizing to look rusty. So I started looking for other options, and I started talking to different people, and I found a guy that was doing that with hydrodipping.
Right.
And I talked to him, and we ran a few batches, and just wasn't happy with the results, and redid them and redid them and redid them. And finally we hit one that I was like, oh, that's it. That's it. So we ran some of those. We ran some axles and transmissions and transfer cases, and
So I saw those axles,
we
and
did wheels, and there's quite a few sets of those out there. And they that I was like, that's awesome. So then I was like, all right, let's look for some other off the wall stuff that we can do. The previous owner of SuperShafty, Mike, he got some stuff gun coated,
okay.
which is a ceramic coating. It's extremely durable and super thin. Think of it kind of like powder coating, but thin like paint.
Okay.
So, but super durable. So you can take two pieces of Cerakote and bang them together, and it's not going to hardly leave a mark on them. You do that with two pieces that are anodized, and they're going to be all scratched up.
Right.
So when you take those parts out onto the rocks, yeah, your anodized parts are going to get scratched up, and that's part of knowing that, okay, if I put, anodized parts against rock, it's going to leave a mark.
Definitely.
But the Cerakoting stands up to that a little bit better. So we started Cerakoting, trailing arms and stuff like that, because they would hold up to the abuse better than anodizing. So and we got some wheels Cerakoted and stuff, and that was prior to me owning SuperShafty. But recently we started back into that, and you can see them behind me, the orange ones and the green ones and stuff up there. Those are all Cerakoted, and the Cerakote colors just pop. They just, you can't get that, hunter orange and zombie green, colors with anodizing as easily.
Yeah.
Um, with the Cerakote, those colors are the same every time you spray them. So
Yeah, I
that
mean,
was
I agree that orange is like, so so the year before you acquired SuperShafty, and I see you're grabbing it right now. The so Mike showed up to East Coast with a set of orange wheels like that, and I don't care what camera you put on those, that the camera does not do that orange justice. It doesn't matter what camera it is. Like, it's so
it, and
orange,
all
like
the
it's vibrant.
all the
It's so good.
anodizing, all the hydro dipping. It's all hard to really show on a camera. The true colors of that stuff. So
Yeah,
I've got a little photo booth, and
I mean, you'd have to.
I play with, getting the best lighting I can, and sometimes I'll take them outside in natural sunlight and take pictures of them that way. And it's still hard to get a vibrant picture of, colors that really just jump. But yeah, they're great. I mean, seeing the those bright colors in person, it's like, oh yeah, that's awesome. I gotta have that.
Awesome, man. So, let's talk a little bit about. I mean, you kind of jumped around on me on some questions while you were going, so let me catch up for a second. Uh, Over the course of what's gone on with SuperShafty here, or even before that, so with Bottoms Up RC, you kind of started stuff with designing some wheel things, and now you're designing some wheels. Can you talk a little bit about the design process of, like, kind of how you come up with a wheel, like what the thought process is in your head? Now, I mean, obviously you don't need to give away all of your like trade secrets or anything like that, but like kind of like the general basis of how you would go through something like that, because I think not necessarily like fully focused on wheels, but people are kind of afraid to take on that jump of like from your brain transition it into something that you're making and go from there. And so, I mean, you can show and tell in the process as well.
Transition. It's a hard transition. So like for me, it's, I see something in person, on a real truck, or on a picture of a real truck.
Right.
And for those kind of parts, it's like, okay, I like that, but that's not going to make a good RC wheel. There's either too many parts, or by the time that you put a B-lock ring on it that's actually going to function on an RC tire, the detail is going to get lost on those kind of things. So I typically, when I'm designing a new part like that, it's seeing something in person and going, okay, I want to see if I can make that look as good as it does on the real truck in scale format.
Yeah.
So it's hard because the scale aspects of a wheel, the proportions are so far off. then a on a real truck, on the beadlock rings, those the bolts that are holding on the beadlock rings on a real truck are 12 millimeter bolts or something like that.
Yeah.
If you scaled that down, they would be so tiny that you couldn't even find a driver to put them in.
Yep.
Much less, you start applying, the kind of horsepower that these scale trucks have compared to, the scale horsepower of, a real truck. I mean, this truck back here, not a big brushless XL Holmes motor in it. Scale horsepower, power to weight ratio would be like, shoving a 3,000 horsepower motor into a truck.
Yeah.
So you start applying that kind of torque to a tire that's this big, and with extremely tiny beadlock bolts, it's just going to rip the tire right off the wheel.
Yep.
So making something that actually functions is more important than the scale aspect of it for me. So I want to make a part that looks the part, but function comes first.
Gotcha.
So if it means that I need to put a bigger bolt here or a slightly larger, chunk of aluminum there, I'm going to do it. It even if it doesn't make the part look as scale as I want it to.
Nice. So, and I can appreciate that, especially being someone who is competition minded. So I think our hobby, it hasn't like parted ways and gone different directions or anything like that, but there are definitely people who are very, very scale oriented. Everything has to match a 1-1 truck to, and there are also people in our hobby that are very competition oriented, where they're like, I'm gonna stretch every rule and I'm gonna win. So and I've worn both those hats, and I'm pretty sure you've worn those hats as well. And to understand that and know that like you're more geared toward performance is, I mean, I think that's kind of like that you come full circle and realize where you're.
Yep. I mean, it's definitely the function before form for me.
Yeah.
I want my personal truck to perform at the expense of looking scale. So I'll I'll dovetail it a little bit extra, or I'll cut a bigger wheel arch in it, or I'll run a slightly larger than scale, whatever, to make sure that the truck functions before it looks the scale, super scale, class 0, truck
Right.
part.
Yeah, I hear you completely. So let's talk a little bit about competition stuff. I know you compete. I know you hosted a competition last year. I've competed against you. My favorite question, because you literally sent me like a laughing emoji about it, is would you consider yourself competitive? And so let's talk a little bit about like in that. What would your advice be to people who are like, I think I want to go out to a scale comp crawl, like, and have a good time with these scale guys, and try and compete and win? Like, what advice do you give like the new people who are out there trying to get into that mindset, that drive, that environment?
The first piece of advice that I give to anybody that's coming into this hobby is do it because you're having fun. No other reason. You're there to have fun. It doesn't matter how you place against all the other people that have been here and done this for so long. If you do great, that's great. But if you're not having fun, what's the point?
Yeah.
So go out and, have fun. Break your truck, no big deal. You fix it and come back out and try it again the next time. But having fun with it is the most important part. And I've seen guys that come to the comps and if something's not going their way, they'll kick their truck down the hill and stomp off. And yeah, then it's frustrating if something doesn't go your way, but
Right.
We're all out here, we're adults playing with toy trucks, and we're here because it's fun. And yes, we are here at a competition because we have competitive nature, and want to compare our skills against our brethren,
Right.
and and measure ourselves against complete strangers or what have you. But at the end of the day, have fun. Go talk to the guy that beat you and try and find out why he beat you, and and then go home and work on your truck and come back out the next time and try and beat him.
And so one of my favorite parts about the like competition scene is most of those guys who did beat you are like, yeah, I did this and this and this and this is why I won. Like no one's shameful, no one's hiding secrets. They're like, do this and then come back and try and beat me. Like
yeah, there's guys that come up to me after a competition and want to look at my truck, want to know what I'm doing to do well. And I don't have any problem sharing that. There's a couple little secrets that I might not share every last little bit, but I'll take the body off. You want to take a look at it, go right ahead.
Yeah, absolutely.
Got a question about it? I'll answer the question.
Yeah, so I have a viewer question from Jamestown. It says, for us, what do you think is the best servo for the 10-2 for both clearance and for steering? There's an on the spot one for you.
The electronics question comes up a lot, and it really comes down to personal preference.
Yep.
There's a lot of good products out on the market. The Holmes Hobbies is one that it continually comes back in, and is a solid performer, and you get a lot of value for your money. And there's people that have problems with every electronic piece on the market. It doesn't matter what it is. Somebody's going to be like, oh yeah, the second time that I ran that broke and it's a piece of junk. And then you have guys that it's like, okay, I've put 1,000,000 milliamps through this thing and have had zero issues completely.
Yep.
And no issues whatsoever. So as far as that goes, I'm going to say two things. The best bang for the buck, as far as servos go, in my opinion, is the Holmes Hobby servo. For right around $100, you're getting a 500 ounce servo that is extremely water resistant, and I run the snot out of them and have next to no issues with them. Now, there's tons of other servos on the market, and if you want to spend more money, there's lots of other options. If you want to spend less money, there's lots of other options. That one's just been a go-to for me lately. We carry them, we sell a lot of them. Almost all of my trucks are running Holmes electronics and Holmes servos. If you want to take it one step further, the Tekken T440 servo is an extremely nice servo, but you're getting close to double the price point.
Yeah. So I can't lie, I'm a high tech fan. I'm still back in the 7950, which I know people have gone past that. They've moved up. There's more torque. There's more this. There's more that. But man, are they snappy? And I legit ran two of them that I did waterproof myself. But the the better part of four years with zero issues whatsoever, and
I ran high-tech servos
love it.
for a long time before I ran the home stuff, and there's something to be said about product that you can put in a 6 and 7 year old's truck and let them go and run it literally 5,000 milliamps, 5,000 milliamps, 5,000 milliamps, 5,000 milliamps, 5,000 milliamps, and never have to worry about it.
You know it, man. I have a 3-year-old, and he is trigger happy. There's a weak spot, he's gonna find it.
Yep. My son Tyler, I'm fairly certain that his SCX10 has 1 million milliamps through it. It's constant. Here's a 5,000 pack. Here's a 5,000 pack, and he's got a Holmes HV 500 in there, and since it had a cheap Savox servo in it when we got it, and since that one burned up, I put a Holmes one in it and haven't had to touch it since.
Right on. So I'm gonna get back to the questions that we have going on here and ask you a little bit about something that I saw kind of get announced / leaked today, actually. And I know last year you hosted the SuperShafty Fall Crawl. I'd heard rumblings that it was coming again this year. I believe that you've locked down close to specifics on the dates. Can you tell us a little bit about what makes that event so special, and give us some info basically about the event?
Well, we have 99% locked down the date. I still have to pay to reserve the date.
Right.
But this afternoon I talked to the guy and we locked it in. And unless somebody between the time that we locked it in this afternoon and my check gets there, unless somebody comes in and doubles my bid for the facility, it should be a locked in date.
Right.
But it's the last weekend of September this year. We had it the third weekend in October last year, and it was frigid. It's on the top of a mountain at the Wisp ski resort in Western Maryland.
Yeah.
And it was windy and downright cold. But the Thursday and the Friday before the event, it was like 50 degrees. And then overnight between Friday and Saturday, it dropped into the teens, and then on Saturday night it snowed. So we're out there Sunday morning with the blowtorch and blowtorching off the comp courses to make sure that there was no snow on them but we were lucky it was just a dusting and not like a couple inches, which could have happened. But the thing about the event was it's an extremely unique venue, and if you haven't seen it, you need to come see it because it's awesome. It's on top of a mountain, on top of the mountain of the ski resort. They had this big lake that they used for all their snow making equipment.
Right.
And they had a rock course up there that they would pump the water through this rock course to cool it down so that it made better snow. Well, somebody said, well, let's start kayaking this. And they're like, okay.
I gotta pause you for a second. They literally built all the rocks in there so it would cool the water down and make better snow. Like, it wasn't just designed for kayaking? Because my mind is like blown right now.
They started with the pond and just think of the most rudimentary way to move this water around to make it colder. Then they said, okay, let's make it into a whitewater rafting course. So then they dumped like $15 million into this place, making it an Olympic whitewater rafting course.
Okay, makes sense now.
So yes, during the winter, they still pump the water through the whitewater rafting course to cool the water down even more so that it makes better snow.
Hmm.
But that's a benefit of having the course.
Yeah.
um, yeah, but yeah, it's like almost a third of a mile loop on the top of a mountain, where they used all the boulders and stuff that they had
Mm-hmm.
in on location, and they cemented them in onto this course, and they put in these big balloon um, gates and stuff like that, where they can they can make the rapids bigger and make the rapids smaller, at a drop of a hat. And they've got like you know four 600 horsepower motors or something pumping
Mm-hmm.
water through this thing. They can make it like class 4 rapids or something like that in a couple minutes.
Crazy.
It is crazy, but the benefit of it was that when they're not using it, it is an amazing rock course.
Yeah.
And I went up there and did the whitewater rafting quite a few years ago, and that's back when I was doing We Rock, and
Mm-hmm.
I was like, man, we should hold a We Rock competition here. So I talked to the guys then, and they weren't interested in putting full size trucks in the $15 million whitewater rafting course, and I don't blame them for that.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
you can't really blame them. So.
when I got back into, I took a break with the RC hobby when I started family, and I opened up another business. So there was a break in the middle there.
Yeah.
When I got back into doing this more scale aspect of the rock crawling stuff, instead of like the 2-2 comp, 2-2 comp days, and I started into more scale. Then I was like, well, maybe we can have an event there.
Yeah.
So I think that it was, that 4 years ago or so. I reached back out to the guy, and he's like, yeah, well, a lot of legal ramifications and insurance requirements and this and that, and kind of blew me off. Well, I let it go a little while, and I emailed him back, and no, not really interested, and let it go for a while. I went to nationals this year, or 2018. I went to nationals down in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Loaded up the RV, and brought half of our inventory, and we're camped out on the side of this river in Tennessee mountains, and it's like, this is an awesome whitewater rafting place. This is a great comp course.
Yeah.
Well, and then it was like, oh well, we have a whitewater rafting place not too far from home. So I should email that guy again.
Yeah.
And it was a new guy this time, and he was like, yeah, let's do it. So he's like, let me check with my bosses, and make sure that everybody's on board with it. And 73 emails back and forth later, we bought a $2 million insurance policy for the weekend, and we had 117 trucks out there.
Mm-hmm.
So it was awesome. And it was a big hit last year, and besides the weather, and we heard nothing but positive feedbacks about it.
Yeah.
So everybody's like, all right, let's do it again. So I got on them a little earlier this year, and we got a date 3 weeks earlier than this past year. So hopefully it's not going to be 12 degrees and snowing this time in the end of September. But it's possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I mean, we'll see. Anything happens. So I'm curious to see how that turns out. I do have another viewer question for you. So it comes from Calvin Burks, and he wants to know what your tips are for keeping a well balanced rig. And then we'll kind of shift back into what we've got going on over here in the line of normal questioning as well. So
a well balanced rig.
yeah, I mean, I thought it was an interesting question. I'm wondering if it's like weight balanced or power balanced. Like he didn't go into specifics, but uh, just well balanced.
Um, well, I normally start, my truck builds with, getting the drive tiering laid out, what I want, as far as drivetrain wise, and then build the rest of the truck around that.
Yeah.
Um, my trucks are significantly front heavy. Um, I run heavy front axles, and I tend to put all of my stuff up front. I feel like it helps with climbing and helps getting over obstacles, or when just getting the traction on the front wheels and being able to help steer it better. At the same token, you want to make sure that it's not too front heavy, or
Right.
else you can't drive downhill either.
Yeah,
um,
that I've been there.
so I found myself, when getting things set up, I'd have to move stuff backwards because I end up too front heavy.
Yeah.
But I would say a happy medium is going to be like 60/40.
Oh, I'd say that a lot of people probably will fit right into that same advice that you say. Uh, Over the years that I've been doing this and paying attention to truck setup, a lot of people like that 60/40 mark. Put a little bit of extra weight in the front. Make sure that you're paying attention to how it's distributed, and usually your truck performs
Get
a little
it as
better.
low as possible.
There you go. Someone just asked about your view on droop suspension. I'm guessing that has something to do with that statement. So
Yeah, get the truck as low as possible without sacrificing suspension movement.
yeah, there you go. I could not agree more. Except I tend to sacrifice suspension movement. I'll just slam it to the ground. I don't care. But anyway, so let's go back to our line of questioning here. Who are your influences in the scale crawling community, the scale crawling segment of our hobby? And if you were going to pick someone to have on live at 9:45, who would you pick?
Um, that's a tough question. Um, I I try not to spend an absorbent amount of time looking at other people's builds, um, and try and focus just on my driving of my build.
Yeah.
Um, because I think that is a huge part of it. So, yes, I go on Facebook just like everybody else. When RCC was relevant, I spent quite a bit of time on RCC, um, poking around on there and looking for tips and tricks and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But I would say, try not to spend too much time doing that, and actually go charge your batteries and go out and drive your truck, because that's more important.
Yeah.
Um,
That's
you know,
fair.
as far as who influences me, um, I don't think that there's any one specific person that I could single out there. Um, I tend to lean towards the guys that do well at competitions and look at what they've got going on, and
Yeah.
you know maybe try and take a tip or trick from them at every comp that I go to. So you know that's that's the kind of thing that I would recommend that you try and do when you're building your trucks, is pay attention to uh, who is doing well with something that's similar to what you have, and how you can make your truck better, um, after you drive it and decide, all right, I don't like the way that it does this. How can I change that to make it more, how to perform the way that I want it to perform?
Right, man. Completely understandable. So let's bump into the next line of question here. So, being that you're basically
one other thing, real quick, you asked me who I would recommend to have on your show.
Yes, that.
I don't know who's been on your show because I haven't gone back through and looked at all of that. I don't. I don't have anybody specific. Have you had the Scale Builder Guild guys on?
Yeah, so I've had Matt on. I've had Noob on. Matt is locked down. He's coming back this year in. Hold on, I'm looking at it right now. He's out there a ways. I think he's in like April, or March or April. Like I'm booked out there. Like, woo.
I'm gonna throw Shane under the bus. I was talking to him before the show, and he said that you invited him on last year, and he just didn't have a chance to do it. So, Shane Serba.
Yes, I totally invited him, and he never responded. Shane. So yes, come. Shoot me a message.
His builds. I have actually bought several of his builds.
Understandably.
I still own one of the builds that he did, and they're cool trucks, and I would say that he would be a good person to have on.
He absolutely would. So if you're watching this or you catch it later, shoot me a message, because
I'll tell him that I threw him under the bus.
There you go. You threw him under, and we'll totally run him over a couple times and get him on the show. So, I don't know how many builds he's up to. He was like keeping track with a number, and got really high really fast. Really fast.
I mean, I've got one sitting on the shelf over there.
Yeah.
One of the other guys that is local to us, he bought one from me that Shane built, and I bought from Shane, and I ran it for a few years in class 2. Loved it. It was a blue Jeep Truggy Juggy. And I ran the crap out of that thing, and now one of the other local guys has it, and he's running the crap out of it.
Yeah, I don't doubt it, man. He's done a bunch of good. Just saw someone else mention Pimpin' Crawlers. I'm in talks with Pimpin' Crawlers. We have to lock down a date, and he should be on. I bought one of those trucks for a local guy. Long story short, I ended up with some cash from ending a club, put that into the truck, and gave it to a local guy. And I can't wait to see what happens with that build. But the Ryan from Pimpin' Crawlers does a phenomenal job too. So. Being that you're basically your own hobby shop, AJ, when you build a truck, do you build on a budget, or are you like, spare no expense, it will get the best?
There's a fine line there. I would say that I try and start a build with a budget in mind.
Yeah.
And sometimes it gets thrown out the window. But being able to buy my parts at a discount helps. So I when I start a build, I try and stick with a budget. When I am doing something new, I normally have in mind, where I want that vehicle to end up, and I try and stick with that. Most recently, I did a TRX4, and I started out with that TRX4, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna buy some metal bumpers, and I'm gonna upgrade the electronics, and then I'm gonna be done. And I did that, and
and then
I was like, all right, well, that Bauhaus RC stuff looks pretty cool. I'm gonna throw that on there, and then Yep. I got to put an interior in it because it doesn't have enough scale points, and yeah, then then I started breaking parts and buying alloy pieces, and all before I knew it, I doubled my budget. That
There you
sucks.
go. That's.
But
I feel like that
you know,
happens a lot in this
typically
hobby.
start with a budget in mind and try and stick to it. And then upgrade as I go, and upgrade as I need something.
Yeah,
There are,
understandable.
there are a few examples where it's like, all right, let's just do it. Let's put everything we can on them, and yeah, and then I normally end up selling those.
Fair enough. I don't doubt that one bit. So let's talk about where do you see the crawling community heading in the coming year? There have been lots of changes coming, and I think that the future is bright for crawling, but I'm curious to see where you think we're headed.
Um, I
Just what? Oh, okay. I'm not sure if I'm back or not, but I should be. Um, so what happened is we had some technical difficulties go on, and as a result, it kind of paused our feed and stuff happened. Hopefully, you guys stuck in there for a second while we had some technical difficulties. If you are here, please let me know. And please let me know that my video is coming through, because from my end, I literally cannot see if it is or not. Ben Morin says too many people clicking thumbs up again. So it wasn't that, and I apologize. Like, I'm trying to, guys, figure out on my phone what's going on. In fact, I think actually we're both live. We were both live here at the second, but I'm pulling it back to just so you know, I'm trying to come up with whether or not we're up and live and functioning. Um, and it's not currently showing on my phone, but if I can see it in the comments that we're back, Ben says we're back, we're game on. I'll bring AJ back on. We'll finish this thing out right. I apologize for the technical difficulties, and it booted us, but at least I had the power to bring us back, which is something I never had in the past. So here we go. AJ's back. We're all back. Everything is good, and we're going to fire this right back up and get it running. I believe the question that I had asked AJ was, where do you see the scale crawling community heading in the coming years?
Every time that I turn around, there is a more scale version of a part that I had before. So I think that it's going to continue to get more and more scale, at least to a point. Um, I would like to see, um, I would like to see something where, um, in like the you can fly the helicopters and stuff in first person view. I'd like to drive my RC truck in first person view.
Right?
And now I know that that's possible now, but I want to see it become more of a thing. So I get a couple guys that have the FPV cameras and goggles and stuff, and let's set up a comp course that we can drive our trucks in first person view. That I think that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be awesome. I can see that being pretty sweet for sure. All right, I had shifted the screen there just a second. All right, now I'm back too, so that's cool. But anyway, where let's talk a little bit about that whole team driver thing. It's always an interesting conversation, and I think that one that deserves some merit in most of these conversations. As a business owner, as SuperShafty, what do you look for in a team driver, and what are your views sponsorship in the RC crawling?
As far as what I look for in a team driver is I want to see somebody that has a presence when they're at an event um, or making a video for online
Mm-hmm.
or posting pictures. I want somebody that has a presence when they're doing that. Is that person approachable? Is somebody going to be able to come up to them and say, hey, how did you do that? How is the setup on your truck? What is this and what is that? And I want somebody when I'm looking for a team driver that is going to put a good face forward. Um, they don't have to be the best at whatever they're doing, but the presence is more important to me than, and um, it's more important to me than doing well at a comp,
Yeah.
because if that person has that presence and has the wherewithal to say it's this because that and and is able to present themselves and explain something to somebody that doesn't know what they're talking about, that's more important to me than putting somebody up high on a podium.
And I kind of like that response. I like the fact that you're saying it's important for that person to be approachable. It's important for that person to represent not only you well, but themselves well. So, uh,
Anybody that I put my logo on their truck, and I say, okay, that person is a team driver. When they're at an event or something, they're a representative of my company. And if they're acting like a jackwagon, then it's going to reflect bad on my company. And,
right.
you know, I, I definitely don't want that. So, you know, I, I look at, I look at that before, I even consider inviting that person onto the team. And I'm always looking for that person. So if I see somebody that I want to add to the team, I'm going to send them an invite.
Yeah.
Um, and the the guy that has 17 sponsors and podiums at every event that he goes to, that guy might not be the best face for my company.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't necessarily disagree with that at all, which is and for as many times as I've asked that question or anything about sponsorship, you get a different response. And so that's one of the reasons it's thrown in there is uh, not so much over the last year, but like 2 years ago, that was a pretty hot button topic, and a lot of people were like some statements about sponsorship. Just curious. I'm curious to where
I,
that
I
all irons out.
I constantly review that,
Yeah.
and if I feel like if somebody's no longer a fit, then they might get the boot.
Well, all right. So watch it, Super Shafty team guys. You might get the boot. Um. Anyway, so what should we expect to see next coming from AJ and even from Super Shafty itself? So in the future here.
Um, as far as any one particular item, I hinted that we're coming out with a new 2-2 wheel. Besides that, yeah, I'm not going to give anything away right this second.
Fair
I've got a
enough.
few irons in the fire. You know, we I I'd like to do more, custom one-off builds for people. I enjoy doing that. I enjoy people sending me their items to recolor them, or design something for them that meets their persona.
Yeah.
That they've got a purple truck with unicorns and stuff on it, and they
Wait,
want a
who would
set of
have
wheels that matches
that?
that. You know, we can do it.
Yeah. No, and that's awesome. So, and that's one of the things that I appreciate, being someone that always is searching for something unique, something that no one else has. I had to have you on live at 9:45 because we're constantly you're constantly going out of your way to pick the things that are unobtainable anywhere else, and that for me is like very key. So I
Yeah,
thank you for being
I
on, man.
told I told a guy the other day, it's like, when we look at doing, some of the things we're doing, it's like, okay, Joe Blow might not be able to go out and do that specific thing,
Yeah,
but we might be able to help them do it.
yeah.
And I like that aspect of it. And making a truck that stands out when they want to go show it off.
Hmm.
Um, that's awesome to me. This truck has these awesome parts from this company, and I want to show everybody, and
Yeah.
I like that. Not necessarily for the pat on the back, but I like seeing unique builds, and my business partner and I joke occasionally. It's like, all right, what's a color combination that we haven't done before? All right, you pick a random color and I'll pick a random color and we'll do it together. And or he says, I try and think of the ugliest thing that I can think of, and somebody is going to go nuts for it. Uh, that we were joking, and when we did this transmission, is let's do some pink paisleys. So that we did hydro dipping of the craziest hydro dip pattern that we could find,
Yeah.
and this transmission came out amazing.
So
um
I'm so
yeah
mad at you right now for putting that out to the public because it belongs in my truck. I've been looking at paisley prints for a year and I haven't pulled the trigger on any of them. Ugh. So it seems like the most obnoxious thing I could think of. Thank you for doing it.
the colors are fun,
Yeah,
and if nothing else, I like seeing colorful trucks out on the trail.
absolutely. So a couple of things that I wanted to touch on from people who were in here. Guys, first off, if you were in here and watching this live, thank you so much for bearing with the technical difficulties. It just wouldn't be live at 9:45 if we didn't have something completely unpredictable happen. Like, it's been every episode ever. One time we'll do it the whole way through and nothing will happen. But
What
this
fun
wasn't
is that?
it'll be like 2 years from now and we'll be like, oh, that was so boring. Remember that one time it all went right? Um, but anyway, Joe Perea, who is hosting Scale Nationals, has made a couple comments about A, thanking AJ here for his donation to Scale Nats, but B, asking if he was going to head out that way, and NC saying, hey, Scale Nats are coming. So Joe, make sure you comment up when Scale Nats are and some of that information, and I will be sure to plug it right now as I see the comment pop up, because the comments don't always stay for what's coming up next. But
I think Scale Nats is like the third weekend in April.
yeah.
So yes, as of right now, it's on my calendar to attend this event.
Yeah.
It is a 28-hour drive from here to there, so is currently providing some technical difficulties on getting SuperShafty to the event.
Can't blame you
So
there.
we're trying to figure out whether or not we're going to drive, or whether it's going to be try and pack as much crap as I can into a suitcase and go out and just make a showing. Take 27 bomb proofs and put it in my carry-on, and it goes through the security and goes, "Sir, your backpack is full of metal. We would like to take a look at that."
Yeah, don't tell them it's bomb-proof.
Right,
Leave
right. No,
bomb out of it, and you might be all
my
right.
luggage has a bomb logo on it. You're wearing a bomb logo. What is going on with this dude?
Yeah, right. So Joe commented, and it's April 25th through the 28th in San Ysidro, New Mexico. I probably butchered that. I am not from Mexico, so that name is not in my wheelhouse of names to nail.
Isidro.
Isidro? Okay,
Yeah.
well, so that's where it is. Check out all the stuff, Sorka page, all that for any of the information regarding that. And I know they have an event page, and if Joe sends it to me, I'll gladly include it in the description of the video down below.
So yeah, I mean, I'm gonna try and make it to Scale Nationals again this year. It was a lot closer last year in Tennessee, but
Right.
we're gonna try and make it. Gonna try and make K&K this year. The last couple years just haven't been able to do that either. It's just fallen on a bad weekend for us. Then East Coast Scale Challenge in Pittsburgh in August, the regular, and 5 years in a row now. I'm gonna make that one. And then SuperShafty Fall Crawl is the last weekend in September. Hope to have everybody there. So we're putting that event on, and as soon as I have a 100% answer on the date, I will make everybody known, and probably post something about when tickets will go on sale for that.
Right. Awesome. So that kind of brings us down to the end here, AJ. And A, thank you for being on the show. B, thank you for doing all the things that you do, man. The color combination of things and providing uniqueness to our hobby is second to none for me, but all the other stuff's amazing too. And so lastly, if there's anything I missed, anything that you want to talk about, anything you should shout out, this is your chance, sir, before I kind of close things out for this evening and move on from there.
Yeah, so the one thing that I wanted to show and make people aware of was the autism wheels that we did.
Yeah.
So we got these hydro dipped, and all the proceeds that we did on the autism wheels got donated. And we've been asked about doing some other kinds of support things like this, and I'm all for it. I'm obviously I'd like to find something that that people are interested in supporting,
Right.
and obviously something that is going to look good too. That people are going to want to run it on their truck, even if they don't have somebody that's autistic in their family or
Right.
friend or whatever. It's still a cool piece, and you still want to put it on your truck and run it. And for every set of wheels that we did, we donated like $50.
Awesome.
And we did a raffle and raised like $1,000 this fall for that. And I'm willing to entertain the possibility of doing something else similar to that. So if you have an idea, shoot me a message.
Absolutely, and that's awesome, man. That's A, it's commendable for supporting a cause, but B, it's just super cool. Like if you're involved in one of those causes, if you feel passionately about something, being able to have something fairly unique and putting it on your rig to show your support is cool, and it only comes from one place at the moment, and that's one, like, again, I go back to the uniqueness, the individuality, and all of that you're providing right now. I think that goes a long way. So
I mean, even something as simple as, we put a couple sets of, anodized wheels up in December, and we raised $1,000 in the matter of like 2 hours for a Toys for Tots event that we were going to. We loaded up the kids. I loaded up my kids in the car and went to Walmart and literally filled 2 shopping carts to the brim with stuff to take to the comp the next day.
yeah,
And the outpouring of support from this hobby that we love is amazing. And it was a spur of the moment thing. It's like, oh well, I'm gonna put a set of these wheels up, and we're gonna see if we can raise some money and go to Walmart and grab some toys for tomorrow. And
yeah,
yeah, it literally was over $1,000 in a matter of like 2 hours.
that's incredible.
It was heartwarming. It was everybody in Walmart was like, what are those guys doing?
Yeah.
The manager came over when we were at the checkout counter and was like, what are you doing? This is awesome. You know, and everybody wanted to know what we're doing. And
Yeah,
we took those toys and went to the Toys for Tots, Virginia Scalers, competition down in Winchester. And I think we got close to doubling the amount of toys that was brought to that comp,
yeah,
just by the guys that that supported us in a very short period of time. That was awesome.
yeah, absolutely. So if there's nothing else, man, I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna head off to bed. We're running a late one tonight, and which is awesome. It has been amazing. I've enjoyed every second of it, and I just want to thank you for being on. The conversation was good, and I just want you to keep doing what you're doing, man. It's been great.
It's fun, and if you have an idea for something that we haven't done, you want to see us do something, shoot me a message. That's how ideas get started. So let us know what you want to see next, and we'll go from there.
All right. So without further ado, I'm gonna kind of close this out, say peace out, man, and shift it over to me, and close the show like I always do here. A couple of shameless plugs. If you check out in the comments below, there's links to all of my social media. There's links to AJ's social media stuff, including the website for SuperShafty, and additionally my website. Make sure that you click that subscribe button and that bell so you get notified when we go live, and we do these videos every week. Live at 9:45 is a weekly show, and we're going to try and interview someone every week this entire year. So we're shooting for 52 guests, although that's a tall order, and hopefully I won't miss it. The goal is all 52 of them. Next week, I have Rob Matthews on. Rob's going to talk about USTE. He's also the guy that distributes / runs the United States version of GCM. And so if you don't know what GCM is, you should check all of that out as well. That's it, guys, for this evening. And I appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in. I also appreciate all of you for bearing with me with that technical difficulty we had there for a brief moment. But unlike Facebook, which would have just crashed us and we would have not even been able to continue, we were able to throw it back together, piece things, get it moving, and finish out our live feed. So thank you very much for tuning in, following along, and going through all of that stuff. As always, if it wasn't for all of you out there watching me and the guest, it would just be me here talking to a camera in my basement, and no one wants to see that. So I will catch you guys all next week at another live at 9:45. Thanks for tuning in.